Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Strange Reality with Dave Emmons. And we have a guest on this afternoon. He's been with me before, and he's done a great job. I like him, and he's a nice guy and a very smart guy, and he knows how to help people out in diseases and also depression. And we get into angels and all this other stuff too. We might get into that, but he's got some other points that he wants to talk about. And if you remember, it's Dr. Christoper Macklin is who my guest is today. And Dr. Christoper Macklin is highly respected as a medical intuitive, a spiritual teacher and health and wellness practitioner, renowned for assisting people in achieving optimal spiritual, mental, and emotional physical health. His work, which addresses a wide range of mind, body, spirit, and imbalances to overall wellness, is well received and resonates with the general public who have been experiencing emotions, chronic mental imbalances, and increased physical illnesses post pandemic. Oh, yeah, that's true. Christopher is able to heal many people to rebalance the body's energy field and cleansing the body's meridian field by removing blockages and negative energies. Former businessman in England, he's from England originally, but now I think he's in Missouri still, right? Dr. Christopher.
Absolutely. Missouri. No, it's good actually. I love it. It's the Ozarks.
Yeah, the Ozarks, that's right. And former businessman in England, Christopher's life challenges set him on a completely different path and led him to a very different journey. He embraced what he felt was his purpose and passion and surrendered his life completely to the divine from the point forward, and life shifted. He was guided to spend hours, days in meditation, opening in consciousness and understanding of how to use the natural energetic healing abilities to serve humanity. And it goes on to say, and Christopher includes emotional disorders, including addictions, chronic depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. And we're going to be talking about that. And I think I got most of that in there. You've been, I guess you're a doctor, uh, of what is your like? I'm not seeing that in this detail.
Metaphysics. I studied metaphysics, which is it's kind of interdimensional energies and things like
Yeah,
this. And
right.
I got it for writing the book, and it's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's just a PhD thing, but
yeah. I didn't.
doesn't matter what you've got. Who cares?
I didn't
It's
I know that
it's who you are.
I just call you a doctor, and also you're an interfaith worker, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You do all that.
yeah. I'm a minister.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Dr. Christopher Macklin, thank you for coming to the show again. And
Oh, thanks for having me, David.
yeah,
It's wonderful to be here.
yeah,
Bless your heart.
I had a joyous time last time we were together. And, we really did. We did everything but drink wine together. We couldn't do that over the air. But I
Well, you
wanted
can try. I can get you a
yeah,
glass
yeah,
if you
yeah,
want.
we're gonna try that. Let's
One of these days,
yeah,
Dave, you're
yeah,
going to be able to walk through a Stargate and we'll be there, in the
right.
studio.
Well,
Like, oh,
I can come
it's
down to
coming.
Branson. Branson's not that far away from me, about 4.5 hours. So yeah, it
Oh,
sounds
that's not bad. That's
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Christopher, you want to talk about history, truth, and healing, HIV/AIDS, Agent Orange, Gulf War syndrome, and Morgellons and Lyme disease. I guess you want to start off with that and talk to us about how you've been helping clients with these types of diseases, Dr. Macklin.
Well, it's interesting because when I first got here in 2010, after about a year or so, I realized there's a new disease and they called it, in quotes, Morgellons disease. Okay, so how does this work? And people were getting things like bits of plastic coming out of their skin and,
Hmm.
things like opaque, wasp, like a yellow jacket. They were like that, but they were opaque, walking, a little lesion would come and then they'd walk out their skin and people were getting really freaked out. And of course, they go to the doctors, well, this wasp thing walked out of my skin. Oh, you're nuts. Right, psychiatrist, there's plastic coming out of my skin. Oh, psychiatrist. Not the case. It's actually real. It's really interesting. So I wanted to understand what this disease was, and I really delved into it with a world. She's actually probably the world leading industrial toxicologist, Dr. Hildy. She's actually retired now because they've tried to get rid of her about 26 times.
Yeah,
But
that,
the woman, she's still here. I mean, they tried to get rid of me last year, and
Yeah.
I had open heart surgery. So yeah, it's it's what it
I
is.
remember that you did have open heart surgery, and it wasn't too long after that you were on my show, and
No,
you were doing great. Yeah, so
I
that's
know it's just the valve, and even the cardiologist said, "Oh, it's not your fault. It's just the valve or the valve." They said you got a bicuspal valve. I said, hang on a minute, I've had the heart scan before, and I had three cups. What's happened to them? And anyway, we figured it out that because I was on the podcast talking about how amazing the Vatican is not.
hmm
Obviously, they've got a low frequency energy weapon. They can actually shine it at particular areas, and it'll actually melt things like the cusp of the heart valve together. It can
Wow.
actually melt your lungs together. So they've got these weapons, and you have to be a little bit careful. Well, I just don't worry about anything, but yeah, they use that. So I asked mine because that being so they do psychic surgery. I said, could we repair it within a couple of weeks? Because I had about 4 weeks to live, and they said, no, you need to get a new valve like right now. So okay, we did it.
Yeah,
So
I know that they've been following me around, but I'm glad they don't use those weapons on me. I believe sometimes I have been hit with microwave just to aggravate you. You know, they it doesn't matter how small of an influencer you are, they'll go after you and just intimidate you for a little bit. It depends on how much you know, and how far they'll go, I guess. Uh, Dr. Christopher, we were getting into Morgellons, and one of them asked a stupid question here. I guess they don't have a cure for Morgellons, right?
no, and the reason is because it's reticular. I mean, we all know the Greys did a deal with people like Hitler first. I think let's sign a deal. We'll abduct your people because we've messed over our planet with nuclear and everything else. We can't reproduce. So we want to reproduce humanoids, so grey reticular, in quotes, humanoids. So they signed a deal, and first of all, they were stealing eggs and sperm and making humanoids, but they realized that you can't get a human soul without a woman's womb because you need the god energy around it. So if it's a bit of plastic, they were putting in what they call a draconian AI soul, which is shut down. That's why there's so many people on this planet, probably about 75% who were called NPCs, non-player characters, because they're not properly human. They're AI biological vessel. And you can always tell people because they're not that smart. They can't reason. They can't explain things very well, and they can't have a monologue at all. And so you
Yeah.
can always tell because they're just. And if you look in their eyes, they're just dead. There's nothing there. If you look at a proper human person's eyes, you can see the soul, you can see the light within.
Right.
But anyway, so they were doing that, and by the way, they got around it. What they did is they then abducted the women, impregnated them with all the DNA and everything, put them back down here for 4 to 5 weeks, put implants so they could monitor when the souls arrived, took them back up and took the fetus out. That's what they were doing. And I've worked on so many women who say, I don't understand it. I was pregnant and now I'm not. I'm sure I was pregnant. I felt it. And then suddenly, 4 weeks later, it's gone.
Yeah.
And of course, they wipe the conscious memory, but somewhere in the subconscious, they're looking for it. And, we can always go back and have a look at it. But anyway, so what did we get? They got, eggs, sperm, fetuses, and everything else. What did we get? Well, we got technology. Now, the sad thing is, it's like giving a 4-year-old the keys to a Ferrari. It's not a good idea. So
Mhm.
basically, so they gave us this technology, of course, got in the deep state hands, and off we go. So it was given to DARPA, and DARPA actually started manufacturing this stuff. It's 10 to the nanotech is 10 to the minus 9 small. It's pico, it's 10 to the minus 9. It's nano, so you can't see it. So what is it? Well, it's basically particles which are biologically alive. It's very crazy, this. They put clusters of CMOS arrays in them, so they've got a computer inside them. They load it with AI. It's graphene. So, and then what they do is they bind things like nylons, like DuPont's nylon 3633. They bind silicates, they bind plant material and all sorts of different things. And so when it's in the body, if your DNA doesn't, if your immune response is not right up there and keep it at bay, it will replicate and start to grow in your body. And people think this shirt isn't, if it's nylon 9. Nylon 36, 33 are different. They're like squidgy squid stuff. And if you look at undertakers right now, when people are passing away, they're taking bundles of squid out of their carotid artery and things like this. That's the
Right.
nylon.
I've seen that.
So yeah, it's disgusting. But anyway, it's what it is. So we have to get rid of it. But anyway,
Dr.
so
Macklin, was that from the, I don't want to say it, from the shot?
yeah,
Yeah.
let's call it the what's it. It's from the what's it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, ingesting all the nano. What's interesting about that is that the what's it in quotes contains. There's a few things about Morgellons. It doesn't replicate if your DNA, RNA, thus immune system is strong. How do you make it replicate? You have to damage their DNA. So the old way was before CRISPR technology was invented, is to ingest agrobacterium. It's in GMO foods or it's in GMO foods or the past what's it, of the past, the old things you put in your arm. The new way is it's all in one case. You've got the nano and you've got the CRISPR technology. So when they put that, within you and you ingest it, the what's it, what happens is that the nano gets into your body, but then the CRISPR technology splices your chromosomes and DNA, RNA, immune system is all connected. So your immune system drops to about what I'm seeing is 16, 15, 16%. It's got no immune. That's why people are getting turbo cancer.
Mhm.
That's why, and what happens is these things replicate because they're not, the immune can't see them as a foreign body because there's not enough T cells and antibodies there to take care of it. So it replicates. You think, hang on, so nylon, silicate, how would you make that replicate? The answer is that the way they bound it to the actual the graphene. And don't forget, graphene's carbon. What do you need for growth? Carbon, oxygen, water, warmth, and you've got it. So the way they've bound it, this stuff actually grows. It's crazy stuff,
Yeah.
and it's obviously off-planet technology.
Dr. Macklin, I wanted to go back with I've seen some people that look flat and they didn't have no soul in their eyes. And actually, I ran into a young guy the other day and a young girl, I think, are following me around. I don't know. They're weird. This is kind of all like weird stuff, but I haven't, I'm trying to figure that all out. But also, I wanted to tell you that a doctor will not tell you about the long-term symptoms or the lack of immunity that the body may go through. But I had a nurse tell me, said that my shortness of breath, that I've been checked out really well, and they said everything's fine. And she told me, I guess on the sly, she said the shortness of breath are long term effects of wazoo, whatever you, you could call it. But she said that a lot of people,
Oh, the
yeah,
thing,
yeah, the thing,
the
and
the what's it?
yeah, yeah. She said
It
those,
is actually,
yeah,
yeah.
those are
Well,
common.
what happens is this
Yeah,
stuff is growing through the body, so it grows through your tissue. It also starts to grow through the heart muscle. And one of the things that's coming up now is myocarditis. Over 100 million Americans have now got myocarditis. Now, it's funny because I never had that. I never had the what's it. I wouldn't take anything like that. But when I was in hospital, um, and when I came out, I went to see a cardiologist, just to check. And he said, you should be on these pills now. We're not taking them. We're not taking this. I'll take that, And so we've got alternative stuff and it's doing great. But what's interesting is I said to him, I said, well, a couple of things. One is that, you must be seeing an absolute ton of people with myocarditis. And he sat there and goes, well, I'm not really supposed to comment, but that would be a yes. So,
yeah.
but the hospital, please don't tell the hospital because otherwise I'll get fired. So these hospitals are like, they're just dictators. They're horrible places. But anyway, moving on.
And they're
So what?
following orders too from the deep state, the military industrial complex. They're in control of things, and we know that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And they charge you up the wazoo for stuff as well, but that's another thing. So what's interesting, it grows through the heart muscle, it grows through your tissue, it grows in the brain. It's also got so this thing, the what's it has got spike protein, HIV microinserts. So people are getting in quotes VAIDS, vaccine AIDS. Unbelievable. It's got Borrelia, the stealth pathogen of Lyme, also bound to the particles as well because it's a biologically alive instrument. So that's what kicks the life off. And like I say, it just grows. So you get Lyme disease, you get Morgellons, you can get HIV, you've got spike protein, which affect the brain. The nylon grows in the arteries, as you've seen. Just if anyone wants to look, just go on Google and look at undertakers. I think they
So
call them undertakers here.
yeah,
You
so
know,
if we didn't have preconditions or lack thereof of immunity, we wouldn't get Lyme disease. Dr. Macklin, would we get it anyway?
no, 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 because also the particles are also in the chemtrails, which actually have stopped here.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they stopped being near you, but they're in the chemtrails, and people say, well, we've got a protocol to strip it out using timeline splitting. It gets rid of it. We're on our 63rd group,
Mhm.
and we have anything between 5 and 15, 20 people doing it. And it's got rid of it completely. It's got rid of all the nano, the spike protein, the HIV, the HIV/AIDS, Agent Orange, and Lyme disease. It's got rid of all that. But yeah, I mean, so why don't we all get Lyme disease? And the answer is because it depends on your immune response.
Yeah.
So your immune, and therefore that depends on your DNA, whether it's been damaged or not.
Dr. Macklin, the one thing that interests me and which I've been involved in Vietnam was Agent Orange. Could you tell me a little bit about that and what you know about Agent Orange, Dr. Macklin?
Oh yeah, we get rid of it all the time. I've worked with so many veterans. What's interesting is, let me just give you the dates of the manufactured diseases. So this is from the Grey. So let's have a look. Agent Orange was invented in 1965, a stealth pathogen.
Mhm.
What's a stealth pathogen? It's a gain of function of a pathogen. What's a pathogen? It's a gain of function of helical bacterial structures. So it's all gain of function. So that was invented. Now, what's the difference between Agent Orange, Lyme, or Borrelia, the stealth pathogen of Lyme, and HIV, the stealth pathogen of AIDS? And the answer is they're so close to each other. It's just that Agent Orange, the co-infection, the neurotoxins attack the nervous system really big, and they break down the myelin sheath. Lyme disease, it's got severe. I mean, that was Lyme disease was developed in 1975. It's not as severe as Agent Orange in terms of the nervous system, but it produces huge brain fog. It affects the kidneys, the liver. You get scar tissue on the kidneys and liver from the stealth pathogens. It also affects the eyes. It affects everything, really, the brain, because you get brain fog because of the amount of toxicity of die-off of the actual stealth pathogen itself. And then you got Gulf War syndrome, which is the same stuff, really. HIV was invented in 1981. That was obviously they wanted to affect people. Once they'd done these other two stealth pathogens, they said, "Oh, let's alter it slightly." They're almost the same. You can say they're almost the same. They're all stealth pathogens, and obviously that was sexually transmitted, and they want to get people into trouble with that. So and then came Morgellons in 2002. Now, I think they've been working on it before that, but certainly that's when we can find, evidence of it. And Morgellons was everything, Borrelia, the stealth pathogen Lyme, bound to the particle with all the silicates, all the nylons, all the plant material, and Morgellons came from there. And when you dust it in somebody, it sinks through the skin. It's called, they call it in quotes smart dust. So yeah, it's very interesting. So, and of course, it was triggered. It was allowed to replicate when you ingest a agrobacterium because most people eat GMO food somewhere. In fact, I don't think there's probably an organic thing on this planet right now. They say it's organic, but it's definitely got contamination, I think,
Yeah,
of
Dr.
different
Macklin,
things.
what were all these things designed for? You're saying that a lot of these things were invented like 65 and on. What were they invented in the lab for? Was it for biological war? Is that what it's all
Oh
about?
yeah, it's to depopulate the planet. That's dead simply. So why do they want to depopulate the planet? You think, what's the point of that? And the answer is because they want to take over the planet. They want a few human beings here, but they want to take over the planet because the people in charge actually isn't the governmental system. It's actually the reptilians underneath, like the Anunnaki, Draconian, and Luciferians. I mean, Luciferians are connected to the Vatican. Are they good beings? Now let me think. that that would be a nope. So,
Okay. How about the new pope? Do you trust the new pope, Dr. Macklin?
oh no, 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 not at all. I don't trust any of them.
There's the
I
gray
think
pope, there's a gray pope, and there's a black pope. It's not the black, like the and then it's not like a black person. It's a black pope they call him, and
Oh yeah,
he does all the underground stuff. I think the
yeah,
gray pope is a phony who acts in between. I think I don't
oh
know. I've
yeah.
heard that stuff.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, I've remote viewed the Vatican, and it's really satanic. It's got all sorts of stuff going on underneath it, which
yeah.
child, adrenochrome, all this sort of thing, and they're all at it. So yeah, the new pope is no better than the last one or the one before. They're all in on it. If you're elected pope, I think the reason why they chose an American pope, and I may be wrong in this, but my way of thinking is that he's American. He's American citizen. So what would happen if they proved that he'd been up to mischief, with kids and everything else?
Mhm.
He'd be come over here and he'd be tried in America for crimes there, so it wouldn't be influenced. That's what I think. I may be wrong.
Yeah. I,
So
I just think that we're not in control, and that new technology that they're trading us, the ETs are trading technology for making use of us. They're trading that technology to that, like you said, deep state, military industrial complex, and we don't see it. We rarely see any brand new stuff. It takes about 20 years for the government to come out with something new, like a new jet or a new boat or something or a new weapon. They said it, like Trump says, we got things that nobody's ever seen. I guess so. Gee whiz, and that's what the space.
well, I've seen something. I mean, they've got Stargates where you can actually put something through, and the reciprocal Stargate, it'll just come straight through it. So they have the technology where in your house you could have a Stargate with like a little frame, type thing. I mean, it's obviously more complex than that.
Mhm.
And you could dial up someone's house, like my father in England, and you could just walk through. You could be in his front room in seconds, and oh, we'll come for dinner, Dad. So you don't need these planes. I mean, if you look at planes, it doesn't make any sense that they're still using the gas turbine engine. It's like, the planes are like dinosaurs. They're using a lot of fuel supposedly, and they're inefficient. They also circulate the air, so you're smelling the fumes all the way there. That's why people, I think, get sick. It's terrible, So yeah, we could get rid of those. They've also got anti-gravitational craft, of course,
Right.
and that's available. So why aren't we using that? And the answer is because they don't want to get rid of oil.
Yeah.
And it's my belief.
And it's a good smoke screen to cover up all this new technology they don't want us to know
Oh
about
yeah,
because they're using it against us. That's the thing. What do you think about the drones and everything that was in New Jersey, New York, and we still have them flying around? And the government doesn't explain it properly. They said they're FAA approved. They said they're commercialized, most of them, and they said that they're not enemies of ours. But then last week they put out the Pentagon saying they're a little concerned about drones. They don't know how to defend themselves against them. So what are they doing? Talking out of both sides of their mouth? I don't know, Dr. Mac.
yeah. I think they are actually. I think there's drones out there, deep state ones, and I think the Pentagon, the good guys, are going, well, we've got to get something to defend ourselves. It's a game. I believe that when those what do you call it? The mist was here. What do you call it? Fog.
Oh,
Remember the fog going over America?
mhm.
It smelt like so chemically. I think what was happening was they were creating fog by the engineering from the chemtrails, and then they were actually getting these drones to fly through and spray stuff in the actual fog because it hangs around. I
Mhm.
mean, we had fog and it smelled terrible, and they actually analysed it. There's all sorts of bacterial components in it, quite severe ones. And people were getting like respiratory. It wasn't like the flu. It was more like just, and I see it because I work on about 3,000 people a week, and I get loads of feedback. They were having like hoarse, like problems with their throat, problems with the sinuses, weren't getting it particularly respiratory stuff, but a lot of mucus, and
Oh,
I think what they've done is design these things so the mucus is very sticky. So if you cough it up, it sticks in the bronchial, it sticks in your throat. It's
yeah.
very difficult to get it up.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
crazy stuff.
I've had that. They call it the 30-day cough, but it goes to 60 days or 90 days. And we were talking about, this deep state doing all this stuff. And I felt some of this other stuff. I don't know if you want to get into the centering the mind, healing of chronic stress, because that comes along with it, right, Dr. Macklin?
Oh yeah, I mean everything's connected. I mean, I was on with somebody the other day who was a chiropractor. It was interesting because he was saying, didn't understand, I had a huge practice, this, that, and the other, and you would adjust somebody and then they would leave, and within 2 hours, it's gone back.
Mhm.
And I said, "Oh, that would be emotion." He goes, "Yeah, the main component of back issues is emotion." I said, "Absolutely." Because if you think about it, you've got so much emotion, your muscles tighten up and they
Right.
get like muscle memory and they stay like that, and until you get rid of the trauma and release that and get in there and start relaxing the muscles, which my beings can do, they can actually do psychic surgery and get rid of the knots. And once they relax, then your back's not going to go out. I mean, our backs shouldn't go out. But we're in such a stressful environment, I think, that, everyone's suffering at the moment. I'm seeing people really losing the plot, right now
Yeah.
because they just don't know what to do. They're losing their houses, can't afford to live, getting depressed, and yeah, it's a tough world to live in.
Everybody you talk to or not talk to or see on the internet, they'll be crying and they'll actually say, I don't know why I feel this way. I feel really depressed. I feel gloom and doom. I'm losing my job and I can't afford to live. And that's been going on quite a bit around the world. I guess you can see this going on, like this thing in South Africa, trying to destroy all the white farmers there, then
Oh
take
yeah,
land. It's crazy. This is happening everywhere. Middle East, we've been having trouble, Russia and Ukraine, and also I just wanted to add a while ago that we you mentioned chemtrails. Trump said he wanted all chemtrails to stop. All that
yeah.
stuff. I don't know if it's going to stop or not. You mentioned something about you haven't seen it lately, Dr. Macklin.
No, no, no. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen the crisscross. I saw one about 2 weeks ago where it was just one, and that was it. Because normally they crisscross each other, and
Yeah.
then it expands out, But I've only seen one, and I haven't seen anything since, which is good. But I speak to my clients all over the world, but in the UK, they're spraying even more because they're trying to block out the sun, saying that there's global warming. Well, of course there isn't, but it's just interesting.
Yeah.
But I think in the blue states, the Democrat states, they're still spraying. I mean, New York, they're spraying every day still, and you kind of think, if you're the president and you put an order out like stop it, why is it still happening? Obviously, because the industrial complex of the military.
Right.
So
And now the federal courts all across the country, these little podunk federal courts are running the country. And as a civilian looking at this, and not really a constitutional scholar myself, but looking at this, how can you tell the president and Congress how to run the country? A little judge somewhere in some small town, and he's
yeah, I know.
how do we do that? I mean, we're getting to a point where we have no control. Control is the
Oh,
Constitution.
it's gone. Yeah, people are just making it up. I mean, it's unconstitutional because the executive branch and the judicial branch are equal, so they can't tell the executive branch what to do. The president can do what he wants. I just think he's allowing it at the moment because I think he wants to expose them and what their operation is like. I mean, who would judge that gang members can't be deported? I mean,
It's
I
crazy.
mean, to any sensible person, these gang members are evil. They've killed 50, 100, 200 people. They don't care about human life. I mean, look at them in that jail. They're just evil people. And it's sad, but they don't belong here. If they've come here illegally, they need to just go right now. In fact, I think anyone who's come illegally, should be deported or leave and, come in the right way. I mean, I was made an American citizen in 2017, but I did it the right way. I came in 2010, applied for a green card, went through the whole process. It took me several years.
Yes, I know.
So,
I
yeah.
got a wife that we did the same thing with. But now you're talking to your clients across, I guess, the world actually, and you're talking to them about this chronic stress and anxiety and depression. How do you talk to them and how do you help them get through this mess? And it's unsurmountable stress out there, and also we have our own lives to live, our own diseases to fight, our own bills to pay and everything. Dr. Macklin, how do you start with a person that's really down in their luck and they're depressed?
Well, what you do is you look at where the depression's coming from because it's really important. Is it trauma? Is it the collective? I mean, there's a huge amount of collective energy at the moment. And I feel it each day. Like some days, I think it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks last Monday, the energy felt like an absolute overwhelming sadness. I thought, wow, this is really strong. And of course, people were in tears. They didn't know why. it's the collective energy. I think people are really struggling in each country, and of course, all that energy is affecting people. So need to start getting rid of that. How do we get rid of that? We have a map of intent, which is in quotes prayer to remove it. So you ground yourself. I am of God. I ground myself to the earth. Dear God, I command that this collective energy, and you grab it, uh, that is in my body, is not mine to process. Therefore, I send it back to you, God, to be transmuted and dispersed in only the way you know how. And I thank you, God, send you my unconditional love. So be it. That works, And if you say it several times a day, because if you remove it, it's going to start building up again. So you remove it again. If someone wants that, it's a collective energy prayer to remove it. It's on the website, and all these things are there to help people.
Yeah.
Secondly, is I think you've got to look at your lifestyle. What's wrong? Is it a relationship? If it's a relationship, and it's not working, and people just stay in a relationship, well, don't have the money to leave. Well, what you've got to do sometimes is step in faith. I mean, I encourage people to stay together, but if someone's abusive or anything else, then it's time to leave. If you've tried everything and nothing's working. So you don't have to look at that. You have to look at your job. How many people do I speak to? I hate my job. It's awful. Well, leave it. Like right now, we have a blip on this planet, and you've got to enjoy every second. I also encourage them to get spiritual practices, whatever it is, mantra, if it's toning, like Tibetan bowls or crystal bowls, yoga, meditation, even if they're praying to Jesus, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Whatever practice makes them feel better, use that because I believe in one God, but many paths, and that's okay. I think also that you have to turn to really look at your life and have some gratitude at what you do have instead of what you don't have. And people miss that. I
Mhm.
mean, when I went bankrupt in 2007, I lived out of a car, I sponsored to go to Belize, I sponsored to go to India, this, that, and the other. And when I got there was days without food, like 21 days, 7 days, even in England, 7 days without food. I remember someone left me 30 pence, which is like 40 cents.
Mhm.
Maybe less actually. I think it was 15, but I can't remember anyway. But it was enough to buy one like burger roll this big for 7 days. So I chopped it into seven, and I thought, okay. so,
Yeah.
so I had a little bit.
Yeah.
That was nice,
See.
and no one would help us. It's just unbelievable. But it taught me a lot about manifestation because when I was in Belize, one of the things is positive thinking. And it goes back to, doing your spiritual practice, but there's more. Positive thinking is, and I was in Belize and I just got fed up after the 21st day. I was exhausted, I had no energy. I said, okay, God, this is not funny. So, dear God, I command I get food right now, and I thank you, God, and send you my unconditional love. Within 15 minutes, the most dodgy person in Belize, the wheelie and deer types, he came up to me and he looked at me like this. And I said, What's the matter? He goes, I'm going to give you, what was it, 50 Belize dollars. That's 15 US dollars. And that lasted me for 2 weeks of food. And after that, I was like, that's brilliant. So, I was very happy. But the manifestation worked. But going back to how to change your lifestyle, well, you've got to change your job. You've got to look for what. Nowadays, I think no one's got any passion. One thing I'm seeing is the spark's gone out of everyone.
Mhm.
They're just like, got to have a shower. Oh, don't know what to eat because our bodies are being upgraded by these solar flares, and there's a big one coming in today. In fact, it's probably here, and therefore the digestive has got very sensitive to the fact that you have to really be self-aware and listen to your body. Like, what do you really fancy to eat today? Is it chili? Is it fish? Is it doesn't matter what it's salad. And one day you'll eat that and it'll really hit the spot like, wow, that was delicious, and then another day, no, I don't fancy that. And you have
Yeah.
to look for something else.
Yeah.
But it's got to hit the spot. If it doesn't, what it does is sit there like a brick and doesn't digest properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to look for good food. I think you've got to do spiritual practice. I think you've got to get people around you who are like-minded, who don't berate you for being nuts, who, you can have a laugh with and, put some music on, have a drink with. You've got to look for different things. If you love nature, go in nature. If you love, you know, growing plants, do that. Whatever it is.
Yeah, I was wanting to ask you about PTSD in children, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I know about retirees, people that get past 70. and they seem to be feel they feel irrelevant because they don't have anything they're doing. They're not working, and like me, I'm over 70, well over 70. And what I do is I do the podcast and I talk to intelligent people like you, and I get information and I keep going with it. I write books. I'm still going to write my fifth book here pretty soon, but I also work out. I just come from a workout a little bit earlier today, and I do those things to keep going. And a lot of my cousins and retired people talk to me. They seem like they just lay on the couch and they just give up. Like you said, they just boom. Even retirees can't do that, Dr. Macklin. Is that right?
No, I agree. I mean, I asked God one day, I said, well, when can I retire? They said, oh, you're not going to retire. You'll croak before you retire. So, yeah, you're working. Oh, okay. Then God's in charge of this ministry, I'll tell you. But it's funny because I get a passion from it, as you can tell. I mean, I'm 63, I had that open heart surgery last year. I value life, and every single day I want to find something, doesn't matter how small it is, but something that gives you joy. And, I get joy from this. I get joy from, our house is in the middle of 40 acres of woods. And, it's so dense. It's like a really dense forest in the Ozarks. And I think that to me is it. I love being amongst the trees. There's so many animals here. They wander around, coyotes. There's all sorts of animals, and it's just bears. But it's just beautiful because you're right in the center of nature, and that gives me so much joy. But moreover, if you get any angsty energy, if you go amongst the trees, if you go to woods and sit amongst the trees for a bit, 15 minutes, they absorb that energy. You think,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is great.
I love
Yeah.
I love Branson. I haven't been down there in a while, but I really love it. I wanted to get into your other topics here. We got Robert Kennedy Jr. Has taken on the part of a department where he's in charge of a lot of this bad food and all this other stuff they're adding in. And he was saying that ADD and OCD, especially in kids, has been increasing the last 20, 30 years. And he says it's the food additives and the poisons that we're taking in that's causing a lot of this. You mentioned ADD and OCD. Could you tell us a little bit about what you know about that, Dr. Macklin?
I think ADHD and things like this, hypertension is definitely, dyes in foods and that because some of them really accelerate, and you just can't sit still. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Um, I think some of it's, I mean, when I've looked at it, it's neurochemical balance. So what's the neurochemicals? You've got serotonin from the adrenals, GABA, dopamine, melatonin, the rest of them come from glands in the brain. If you have emotion, and even young kids do, and we'll explain why they do in a minute. But if you have emotion, what happens is all the glands get affected by emotion, and so the neurochemical balance goes off. So you can get like PTSD, ADHD, ADD, OCD. I mean, I've got OCD, and I've learnt to live with it. But I did buy 84 pairs of pantaloons. I don't know why, but it's just what it is. And Mandy goes, "For God's sake, don't buy any more."
I've
So,
had I've had FAT for a long time.
well,
Been trying to
what
lose
was
weight.
funny,
Yeah.
well, she's saying, "Why are you getting so many pantaloons?" I said, "Look, if we have a pandemic and we're in trouble, you might not have any food or water, but at least we've got pantaloons, really useful." So, it's just, but you get OCD, and I think the other reason is as well is because a lot of star seeds here. Starseed people are here because they're supposed to help down here. They volunteer to come down here. Some people are spliced at birth, like their mothers are abducted, they get them down here. Others, you can get the soul down, depending on whether Pleiadian, Octurian, Lumarian, Atlantarian, Andromedan, Lyran. You can get the soul down here just with the standard, DNA of a human being. My mother was abducted. I've got 84% Melchizedek DNA.
Mm.
That's why my heart, instead of being the size of a grapefruit, is the size of a volleyball. It's huge.
Wow.
In fact, the surgery girl, oh my God. When Mandy, my wife, came out, the nurse go, "Come and look at his heart on the sky. Look at it, it's huge. And the heart valve they replaced, they had to reduce the hole because my heart valve was bigger than any of them they got on the shelf.
Gee.
So anyway, they figured it out. They reduced the hole. They got the biggest heart valve they had, put it in, and we're good to go. But they agreed to come here. And what's happened is because, of course, they're pretty advanced people. and they're very empathic. They don't fit in because they don't think like the average human being. They struggle down here with depression because what planet am I on? Did I choose this planet? Because they're not interfaced. Now I don't fit in this planet at all.
Dr.
That
Macklin,
that
does the person know they're a star seed, Dr. Macklin? Is
Yeah, yeah, oh, they will, yeah, because at school you never fit in with the in crowd. You're very different. People call you a geek. You wonder why people are talking behind people's backs. Like, what's this nonsense? You're also very empathic. I mean, when I was younger, about 4.5 seconds ago, um, well, I'm lying, a few years ago. But when I was younger, in my, well, say at school, for example, if someone talked behind my back, I would be absolutely mortified to the point of throwing up almost because I was so sensitive. And of course, your parents say, "Oh, stop being so sensitive." Well, you can't because you just built differently than everybody else. And I think, yeah, you'll know with your starseed empathy, hypersensitivity, don't understand this planet at all and the way people act, and you feel completely detached from it. That's a starseed.
Yeah, somebody
And
give a number of 144,000 are on the planet now, I guess star seeds, whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know if that number is correct or it's a fictitious number, somebody just talking.
no, it's about that. I mean, they put enough people on so that they're putting enough people on the planet so that, some of them are going to get hijacked because when you're born, they know who you are, and if you're a starseed, they know what starseed, where you're from, your lineage, and therefore they attack you relentlessly. I mean, when I was born, 2 days after I had 8 strokes, so I was in hospital for a year. Then after that, when I was 4, I burnt my back and da da da. The last year the heart thing was the 290th time they tried to take me out. So it's crazy, but it's what it is. It doesn't.
Oh,
I just carry on because I'm a warrior and I'm
yeah.
here to do a job.
Yeah, I know you enlighten people and you help people and you've been doing this for some time, and I applaud you for that, Dr. Macklin. I really do. So, and I myself, I'm doing these podcasts and write my books and talk to people for to enlighten them also. I don't consider myself a star seed or anything, but I've been harassed by ETs all my life. Actually, today I got harassed a little bit with my car. The car, what happens is I'll turn the car off and then I turn it back on, and then the engine light comes on, and then the car will not move forward or backward. I cannot take it forward or backward. There's no brake on or nothing. I turn it off, sit there, and I say, okay, let it be, let's go. And then I turn it on, and the car goes. It just happened about 3 hours ago. And it happened several times with I got two different cars, so, and it happened to both cars. So it's something they're
It's
messing
crazy.
with. I've taken them to the dealership and they can't find anything from the past,
No, no,
from the
they
present.
do mess with them.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
yeah, I know they're messing with me in different ways. I'm glad they're not messing with me health wise. Oh, I'm doing okay health wise, but we never know, when you get older. But we were talking about PTSD in children. Children's having a hard time. And also, there's a lot of this like coming across the border. A lot of 30,000 kids, 50,000 kids missing. What is going on with that? I don't know if the kids are picking up on that, but what is causing PTSD in children, Dr. Macklin?
Well, I've had so many people say, "Why is my 2-year-old so anxiety and PTSD ridden? What's good? They've been on the planet for 2 years. Is it that bad? Well, it's bad, but it's not that bad. And what's happening is, and it's interesting because over the last 80 years, the veil between the third and fifth dimension is very thin. So when the soul comes through, it's not blocking all the past lives. Because when you come here, it's a classroom. You're supposed to wipe yourself clean, wipe your memory clean. Let's do a new journey. You're going to learn stuff again. And but what's happened is that the past life stuff, because the veil's so thin, it's bleeding through. So when you fertilize an egg, well, it starts with candlelit dinner. You fertilize an egg, becomes a fetus. You've got 3 months to get the soul in. So when the soul comes through, all the past life's not blocked out. Emotion and cellular memory, like, if you had your hand chopped off or hung, and then it bonds into the fetus, the cellular memory transfers into the fetus's body, and the emotion transfers straight into the heart chakra. So when they're born with a ton of emotion. And it's difficult for them, bless them. So we do past life clearings, to actually clear that, so they can actually start relaxing a bit. Because you don't want your 2-year-old, with PTSD. It's bless them, they're too young.
What is the symptoms of a 2-year-old with PTSD, Dr. Macklin? Is
Well,
it?
they're very hyper. They're very hyper vigilant almost. The smallest thing that that they're really jumping. With PTSD and the adrenaline's rushing at the smallest thing because they're chocked up with it. Plus the fact that you can actually also get things like they've got a terrible pain in their wrist or in their neck, or they've got a pain through the abdomen, maybe stabbed by a sword in a past life, and of course they scan them, don't know what it is. Well, it's just cellular memory. You just release it, it's gone. So yeah, there's a lot of past life stuff bleeding through now, and has been for, I mean, the last 80 years, yes, but especially the last, I would say, 10 years, it's got really bad because the veil's getting closer and closer.
Yeah,
So
I noticed that you talk about all these topics and what's going on with our, I guess, with people around the world. You have these free weekly group sessions like Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And are those on internet sessions? I guess Zoom or whatever.
yeah, we do it on Zoom. I mean, we'd actually do it. I do it twice a week now. Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. It takes care of a lot of things like emotion releases. It takes care of arthritis. Takes care of blood sugar issues, intestinal issues, cancer tumors. If you've got cancer, I wouldn't recommend doing them. I would recommend doing a one-to-one because turbo cancer is getting people really quick.
Hmm.
But everything else, intestinal. A lot of people are, like I say, getting intestinal issues, eye issues. We work on the eyes, macular degeneration, glaucoma, cataract, all this sort of thing. A lot of this stuff is caused by pathogens in the body. These pathogens. I mean, even Epstein-Barr. You look at Epstein-Barr, herpes simplex, cerebellar zoster, which is chickenpox. All these things are strain of herpes, and they're gain of function. They're all designed.
Yeah, like measles has come back all of a sudden.
Oh
That's
yeah,
kind of strange.
that's a pathogen.
Yeah, that come from South America, and I guess they brought it up here. A lot of countries that don't have inoculations against the measles. I had measles when I was a kid, so I guess
I did as well, yeah.
yeah,
You've got antibodies. What's interesting as well is I'm seeing a lot of shingles come as well.
yeah.
Cerebellar zoster, but it's not going to the chicken pox, the things on your skin. It's just becoming shingles. It's weird, it just goes straight to you. I had a lady who got shed on, with the vaccine. She went out, with her family and she was there about 3 or 4 hours. She came back home, she got terrible shingles within hours. And it's taken us a while to get rid of it because it's pathogenic. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening at the moment.
Yeah, I got a lot of notes on this other topic, and I thought maybe we talk about maybe mentioning it, and I want to talk to you about uh, the angels exploring their nature, purpose, and relationship with humanity. Angels watching over us, and you said 70% of all Americans believe in angels, according to a study that they've had since '93, and up to 69% of Americans polled as believing in the existence of angels. So how do angels and star seeds? Angels are quite a bit different, I would imagine. They're coming from another dimension. They're coming here. I even got into a book with angels and supernatural entities. But with you understanding this topic, probably can delve into it deeper. So, what is an angel, and when do they appear to us, and how do they help us, like guardian angels and archangels, and also how do star seeds fit into that all that conglomeration, Dr. Macklin?
It's all connected,
That's a
actually.
lot to
It's
unpack. That's a lot to unpack.
now let me think. No, it's interesting because an angel is defined as like it's a spiritual being, often depicted as like a divine messenger, intermediary or interface between God and humanity.
Mhm.
Now, how do you look at that? Well, some of these are in different dimensions. Arcturians are angelic. I mean, I view angels. The ones in the Bible they're the ones they've actually looked at who are more evolved, like Archangel Michael is an ancient Pleiadian, and he's been around forever. He comes here, helps people. There's Gabriel, there's different ones. There's also ascended masters. Mother Mary is a Melchizedek being, and there's other ones as well. They're Melchizedek, from the ultimate dimension, and then you've got, Octurions, Pleiadians, Lumarians, they're all angelic beings. I think, all these beings that are benevolent, are angelic beings. They're here to help us. And so, but, we only know about the ones who are depicted and separated out maybe in the Bible. But there's many of them, and then you have your guides. Are they angelic? Well, of course they are. They're angelic. Are they angels? I think people define angels as the ones they know. Michael, Gabriel. Uh, Metatron, not a brilliant one, but and all these different angelic beings because they're evolved. They know how to help people because they've been around for so long. It's like a Native American. If you get a wise medicine man who's 100 years old, he's going to be right there fixing things for you because
Right.
he's had the experience, and Michael has as well. And yeah, so the angelic beings, I think, are the more evolved ones who really help and they hang around. But it doesn't mean to say the other, beings in that race, in that dimension. I mean, Pleiadians in the fifth dimension, Andromedans, they're in the ninth dimension. We've got, I was trying to think of the other one, the ones, yeah, Lumarians, they're in the fifth dimension as well. They're all in different dimensions.
I've
But I
never,
think
I never heard it placed that way, Dr. Macklin. You were saying that these angels are like Pleiadians and Lumarians, and that's a ET race, and they represent angels. Or I thought that a lot of the like biblical stuff they talk about they're up near the throne of God or in heaven. That's what they call it, but it's we know it as dimensions. And so these ET races, some of them are that are benevolent, they come here and help us out in times of need.
Yeah, and they're called angels, like Palladian. I mean, Archangel Michael is a Palladian. He's in the fifth dimension. He's really evolved. He's an amazing being, and he's there to help everyone. So they are ET. I mean, everything's an ET race if they're not human beings, I guess, to us.
I know
Uh,
I've seen some things that I saw a couple of saw an angel twice, same one with the veil and with a robe. And I was wondering when you were down in your luck, I mean you were homeless like and you had these angels come up to you, like give you a little money for food. They were angels, I guess. They say be careful who you talk mean to on the street. That person could be an angel. So
it's true, actually. Yeah.
have you seen an angel, Dr. Macklin, during
Oh
your?
yeah, I've seen a few. No, I've actually had apparitions of some of these beings coming into my room sometimes and talking to me. Mother Mary comes in, fairly often. I mean, it's interesting because they're not allowed to show themselves unless you're ready to see them.
Mhm.
That's the universal law. If you're going to freak out, oh my God, they're scared because Mother Mary is standing right there. And but she's always pretty feisty to me. She's lovely to everyone else, but she goes, "Get your nails done. You got to do this. You got to, there's something wrong with your wife's car. You got to get rid of that." Mother Mary, would you chill? So I always do what she says because she's always absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
We did that with a car, so.
Really, so she comes to you in your sleep or in your dreams, Dr. Macklin?
Now I'm wide awake and she stands at the bottom of the bed. Like, I've just come to talk to you, da, da, da. And
Oh,
I can ask her to come. It's really interesting.
really?
But she did say when I was in India, um, I was in the hotel and she came to us and she was really like serious. You've got to change your plane ticket. I said, why? You've got to change your plane ticket. Can you not tell me why? Just change your plane ticket. Okay, I'll do it. I always obey her. Don't argue with Mother Mary, you'll get into trouble.
Yeah,
So,
right.
anyway, went and changed the plane ticket. On the day that I was meant to fly from Delhi, the plane never left. It actually went to the end of the runway and exploded, killed everyone on board.
Oh, wow.
I thought, wow, was that meant for me? And she goes, well, yeah, that's why. So I blessed everyone on board, and did my little ceremony, bless them. And yeah, so I always listen to them. If they tell you something, they're not telling you for the fun of it. They're telling you because something's amiss, and you better listen or else. So
Yeah.
that was interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw an angel when I come back from combat and I was home staying at my parents' place for a few days. And I saw an angel there. And then I saw an angel in 98 when I had a divorce. And you get down on your luck, you lose money in a divorce and everything. So I had that angel come to me in big robe and just stood at the foot of my bed. It didn't say nothing. I didn't have any communications with it, but I felt some spiritual presence with it. And it was a message just by looking at this person or this object. But yeah, I've seen him and I believe in him highly. I think a lot of people need to believe in that. And you said that 70% of people believe in angels, and I've heard that too. Different types, guardian angels and things of that nature, guides or whatever. I've had, people, Native American Indians have guides that they use, so they talk to the same thing. You say you got one God, but you got a lot of paths and a lot of roads to that one God, like you said earlier. Uh,
Oh yeah.
in summing up this thing about the chronic stress, anxiety, depression, and PTSD in kids and the way the world's going, I know you mentioned some of the things that you do to help people, but is there a final message you can give to people right now, Dr. Macklin, about how to survive this stuff?
Yeah, I think to me, you've got to detach a bit from this world and look at it like a movie. So, instead of sitting at the front of the theatre, take a step back and sit on the back seat, the back row, detach from it a bit. I mean, to me, when I look outside, I've heard people, they've been doing readings saying we're 80% to 5D, and I'm looking outside and I don't think I'm on the right planet, Are you sure they're talking about this planet? 'Cause I'm not seeing it, we're not even. Well, what's interesting is that um, our consciousness is, I think, being dragged down by the NPCs because they have no body. They have an AI consciousness, and of course, their energy is really low. I think that's affecting a lot of human beings. If you look at, I always look at population. It doesn't make sense. I just want to run through that for me in a minute. But basically, my message is really look at the gratitude of what you do have. Look at the food. Just if you just got food on the table, you got a house and a car, nothing else matters. You don't need everything. The gratitude of just having the smallest things. People in your life. You've got a wife, you're doing amazing. If you've got a few friends, you're doing amazing. And if you look at the gratitude, you just get more. I mean, 20 years ago, I had that reading, and I don't think I talked about this, but so I was just outside Liverpool in England, a place called Birkenhead. It's pretty rough. And this guy said, "This woman's amazing at reading." Okay, so I went there, small terraced house. She was about 84, walked in. So let's sit down, let's start the reading. So she goes, okay, thank you. Oh, right, thank you.
Hmm.
Wrote these things down. She goes, well, she said, you're going to get remarried. So, okay, and this was 20 years ago when I was still married to my wife in England, and she said, you're also going to move to America. Okay. You're going to work for God. Yeah, doing what? Oh, that'll be healings. And you live off donations. I said, live off donations? How can you live off donations? And, you don't think about that because I was in the corporate world at the time. And here we are, it arrived. I live off donations. I work for God. I do healings for a living. I absolutely love it. I've got a passion for it.
Hmm.
And so, my message is look for that burning passion inside you. Don't worry about the money. The money, where love flows, money goes, and it's just energy. It'll come. Really focus on what you're doing. I've got an IT guy. I've got a PR person. I've got a girl who does all the social media. I've got the girls in the office who take phone calls. We've got about 9 staff. It's not a lot, but it's 9 staff, and they need paying. And, we pay for all that. I get a living out of it as well. And, I'm not a multimillionaire, but I do amazing. And that's all you need. You don't need to be on 500,000 a year. Who cares? As long as you've got enough money to live, and I think that's the thing. Blessing, look at the blessing and also surrender. Don't worry about where the money's come from. God's got your back. We
Right.
did some t-shirts actually, and it says on it, God's got your back on the back. We've only just
Man,
got them in.
yeah, manifestation. That's something I need to concentrate on too. And my wife and I both. But I'm to the age that I don't want to give up. I'm older than 70. I don't want to say exactly how old, but I don't want to give up. I want to keep going. But that's how I keep up with this stress and all this other stuff. And so that's my advice is to keep moving, work out, do some exercise, walk, get your brain thinking, like talk about topics or I not everybody has a podcast or can talk to people like you and learn from experts like yourself. So but they can talk to other people, they can talk to their ministers, they can talk to doctors, they can
Oh yeah, whatever it is. But I
yeah.
think the biggest thing is not getting addicted to you. Again, we've got instruments that addict you. You get addicted like your phone. People scroll their phones. they're in a restaurant and the whole family is like, I've watched them. What are they doing? Scrolling through their phones and then they're texting each other. And your dad's just there and your
Yeah.
mum's just there. And why don't you, use the mouth and speak? And the problem is that I think your neurons start to actually deteriorate
Yes.
because they need exercise as much as your muscles. And, if you're just going to sit on the computer all day and do gaming and do different things, your mind's not really thinking properly.
That's true.
It's programmed.
That's
And I
what.
think they've tried to desensitize human beings, even with this horrible pornography sites. And there's so many things addictive and people are getting addicted to it. And it just desensitizes. It desensitizes the love. It desensitizes your brain. It desensitizes thinking. And I think all these things are destroying us, quite frankly.
Yeah, especially AI, 5G, all this is really coming in and it's affecting us. Can you believe the hour's up? We
Is it?
talked.
Oh, blood.
Why don't you tell us, Dr. Christoper Macklin, how they can get a hold of you? I'm going to put this in a narrative. I got your website, global enlightenment project.com, and they can register for weekly group sessions or whatever. And you have a website also. I think I have that. That is your website, right? The global.
Yeah, globalalignmentproject.com. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any
And if
other?
you come there, have a look. We've got things in the market. We've got meditations to help. All these things are there to help. That's all we're doing.
Okay,
I never want to be anyone's guru. You are your own guru. I'm just helping you get back to that place by getting rid of the trauma and getting your vibration up, really.
and your books are on like Amazon and other.
Yeah, well, we've got them in stock at the ministry as well. You can get off Amazon, but better buy them on ministry. We make a little bit more money because Amazon take a massive chunk of
Yeah,
all this,
yeah,
as
that's
you know.
right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I really do. All right, Dr. Christoper Macklin, thank you so much. It's been a joy. Like,
Dave, thanks for
pleasure.
having me. Bless your heart.
Thank you. And I wanted to have you back on here. It's just hard to fitting you in the schedule for both of us, but I really appreciate what you're talking about. And what you're talking about is really us. It's people. It's the population. It's the world. It's stress, anxiety, depression, the diseases, and what we need to do to help ourselves stay away from that. But Dr. Christopher Macklin, thank you for being on the Strange Reality. Dave
Oh,
Emmons
thanks, Dave.
signing off, and we
Bless you.
thank you so much, Dr. Macklin. Bye bye.
God bless.